What's up everybody? I got a new mod video for you guys today. I've decided that now is the time to look at LE3 Diversification Project. This mod's goal is to improve the immersive elements of Mass Effect 3 Legendary Edition, such as overhauling species population numbers, introducing female aliens for most humanoid species, and making the world feel less static. And I think it does a good job at that. According to the modders, this mod was built from the ground up to work for vanilla players, while also serving as a foundation for new content introduced by content mods, such as the Expanded Galaxy and Spectre Expansion mods. And those mods are getting their own video because I think they deserve it. But there are some things that I do want to talk about with these mods because they add some cool things to the Diversification project. But let's not waste any more time and let's get into this. Like I said before, this mod focuses on making Mass Effect 3 more immersive, and some things have been added or altered to make that happen. So we're going to be going through some of these changes. Let's start with the Citadel. During your first trip to the Citadel, you'll see the docking bay filled with the new Normandy crew as they're preparing to board, and you can listen in on the dialogue between the crew.
Everything in here has been double-checked, triple-checked, and cleared for takeoff.
I'm just glad you made it back in one piece.
I was lucky. We sacrificed a lot of good people. Too many.
If it wasn't for the old man's order, we would have lost 4 fleets instead of 2.
5. Lindholm's fleet barely escaped without being decimated. You think that would have happened if the others were lost?
You think I care about speculation? We just lost over a quarter of the fleet in one battle. We can't keep taking these kinds of losses.
Also, Copeland will no longer vanish after you talk to Diana, and the dialogue has been altered, as she now comes from a more investigative journalist angle.
Ma'am, I can't say when we're deploying, or where, or why.
But you're on the Normandy, right? I saw it dock. It was last seen on Earth. Did Commander Shepard escape? She did, didn't she? So why would she be here unless she's seeing the Council?
Ma'am, I can't talk about that.
You don't have to. Commander Shepard!
If you go to the embassy, you can hear a conversation between Dominic Asoba and his son Bilal. And I feel like it makes your later conversation with Dominic sadder, because you know what fate awaits Bilal on Benning. Also, James will be having a conversation with the Asari at the embassy desk as he's asking about some of his folks. I think his uncle and a friend. Zaid's conversation is now fully interactive, and I love this, as I've never really liked how Mass Effect 3 handled certain conversations. For example, when you get Ashley on the ship, and when you go to talk to her, she gets the Mass Effect 2 Kasumi and Zaid treatment. You're just pressing A over and over, but now I feel like I'm actually having a conversation with him. And if you look to your right, the Turian nurse, who's looking after Gorak, looks different. You'll also see more Volus and Vorcha on the Citadel when their planets get invaded. One thing I would have liked to see is a mission on the Volus homeworld Iran. Fighting the Reapers on an ammonia-based planet, I would have welcomed that. Certain missions have been altered too. For example, you can now complete the Hanar diplomat mission at any time after receiving an email from John Dumbao, even after the coup. As most of you may know, some missions and assets in Mass Effect 3 become unavailable after a certain point in the story, so this was a welcome change. For Purgatory, the music in the club is now randomized between 4 tracks from clubs across the trilogy, and it was cool to hear the Afterlife music playing outside Purgatory. It's nice to have more music options. If Jack is in the club, the students will be there with her blowing off some steam, and you can dance for however long you want. Ari will be watching a hologram of Omega while debating on how to reclaim it from Cerberus. And after we help her take it back, it will show her forces in command of it. Some features can be accessed if you have the Expanded Galaxy mod and the Spectre Expansion Mod installed. We're going to talk about these mods in more detail in a later video, but I'll show you guys what you can do if you have them installed. First, if you got Spectre Expansion installed, you'll be able to purchase Loki mechs through the Spectre terminal that guards the hospital, Purgatory, and CSEC headquarters. Although I didn't see them around CSEC, they were in the other areas though. And Dominic Asoba is supposed to show up in Udina's office after Thessia. I didn't see him in here, but it's cool to be able to enter Udina's office period because it gets closed off after the coup. But earlier in the game, if you go to Udina's office, you'll see that Udina's assistant is now a human. I would like to think that this woman could also act as his Cerberus contact. If you have the Expanded Galaxy mod installed and rescue Governor Grothan Pasness, he'll show up in the embassies. However, I could not get this man to show up, and I couldn't even acquire him from Cholas even after starting a new career, and I remember saving this man before. Maybe one of the mods is causing a conflict? I don't know, but this is where he would show up if you manage to save him. Last thing I want to show y'all as far as the Citadel is concerned is that you can link back up with Xiao from Pharos and go to Pound Town if you choose to. I've always liked Xiao, so it's nice seeing her again, mods or not. Now this one is a bit different. To get her to show up, you have to have both mods installed, and on the Expanded Galaxy mod, you have to have it set to Galactic War, or she will not show up. It took me about 2 hours to figure that out. But let's leave the Citadel and let's look at some of the features for some missions. For mods like this, I don't want to reveal everything, but I want to show y'all just enough so that you guys can get a feel of what the mod is about. On Mars, the Prothean datapad changes based on whether or not Shepard had a vision on Elitania, and the Exogeny datapad changes based on the fate of the Zeus Hope colony on Pharos in Mass Effect 1. Now for Elitania, I remember that Sha'ira gives you a trinket and you're supposed to go to a Prothean ruin on the planet. Now I don't remember if I went to the ruins with the Shepard that I'm using for this video, as I couldn't find a datapad that looked different regarding this topic, but I did get the one for Exogeny. We went through a lot with those guys, and even though they tried to attack us, it wasn't really their fault, but still, it's good hearing about them. One thing was added, and I don't understand why this wasn't a thing in the vanilla game, it's that your teammates will now shoot at Dr. Eva with you, and this is something I've always found odd. I know Dr. Eva is invincible during the chase, but wouldn't it make sense that everyone would be shooting at her, in theory to slow her down? During one playthrough, I even asked this, why aren't my squad mates blasting at her too? It's just one of those immersion things, so I like this addition. The star the elusive man is watching will change based on your collector-based decision, just like it did in Mass Effect 2. I like that continuity. When you get to Monet or the Paladin mission, you'll see female Turians around. One is leading a Cabal unit, and these units normally consist of Turians with biotic abilities. The Turians also have unique armor sets and lore-accurate weapons. The modders focused on giving the different species and factions the weapons, armor, and clothing that they would normally use. Some examples are that C-Sec now uses the same clothing from Mass Effects 1 and 2, and Bailey is in his Mass Effect 2 outfit. Cortez now wears Alliance pilot armor when he's piloting a Kodiak, and the Cat 6 merc who shoots up the sushi place now uses a saber instead of a Matic. The thing I noticed immediately is that there are Voices out here. Didn't expect that. I went up to one thinking he was a merchant or something, but no, he's not. But it would be cool if we could buy weapons from merchants during a mission like we could in Mass Effect 1. Over at Grissom Academy, the Biotic Amp has been placed as a terminal for easier access, and you can find a datapad that has information on Jillian Grayson, but this is only available if you have the Expanded Universe mod, which adds context from the books, comics, games, and films. If you specify that you have read a certain media, you may end up finding something in the game about it. So in the matter of Jillian Grayson, it's better if you have read Mass Effect Ascension or Retribution so that you have that contextual knowledge. But yeah, I thought this was cool. Also, the dead bodies of Grissom Academy staff can be found around the level, just to add to Cerberus's brutality. During the coup, the docking officer is now visibly deceased in the intro to show the murderous nature of Cerberus. And to hammer this point home, dead civilians have been added to Apollo Plaza and Shalmar Plaza. Indoctrination at its finest. Plot checks have been added to determine who the executor is. So if you import a LE3 Diversification Project save, you'll see Chelik, but if not, you'll see the human executor. And the destroyed council shuttle is now C-Sec colored. This whole level always annoyed me because I don't know what Adina was thinking. If it weren't for Shepard, the Reapers would have won right here. A full motion video has been added for Normandy's arrival to the Corian meeting, and this is why I respect modders. Sometimes they just go the extra mile. The ex-Cerberus scientist mission has Dr. Gavin Archer back in his Mass Effect 2 outfit. Always bittersweet to see this man because, you know. Injured personnel and refugees have been added to the hospital area to show how Cerberus is tearing these folks a new one, and some of their outfits have been changed for more variety. If the loading screens for this mission bothered you, they have now been hidden, which makes the mission flow a lot better, and it really does. I really like this addition. You'll find that loading screens have been removed in other areas of the game as well. When we're obliterating Chronos Station, you'll see the elusive man's assistant Jonna's corpse in the labs. What the heck happened to you? hope the elusive man didn't contain the situation. She has been labeled in the video logs, and her appearance has changed to be closer to her description in the novels. Something creepy but cool I saw in one of the N7 missions is that on Sanctum, you can see a Cerberus soldier being integrated into a trooper. And what makes this so creepy is the datapads that you find around the station. One datapad features an employee talking about how they will be integrated the following day, and when you see the second datapad, the integration has already happened, and yeah, they are now a Cerberus/Reaper slave. It's one thing to know what Cerberus is doing to their people, but it's another thing to see them being, as the elusive man puts it, improved. I saved the DLC for last. We're gonna go with the Citadel DLC here, and let's use the apartment. You can choose between various sculptures and artifacts for your apartment. Some of these are Easter eggs from previous games, and you get an extra bedding option. You just have more options in general to choose for your pad, and I can appreciate that. You can open and close the shutters to the apartment using this here button, and RoboDog is chilling in the apartment. Look at it knocked out on the floor. What would be a good name for this dog? I'm gonna go with Tron. At the sushi place, you can now order a drink even after Shepard says he's holding off because he's meeting a friend, and Kasumi's crew of thieves are now dressed for a heist instead of a war. I knew from the minute I downloaded this mod that it was going to be good, and yes, it's very good. This mod does remind me of Project Variety in terms of the scopes of the changes performed, but here the changes are more subtle, and I think that's what people like about it. The mod builds on what's already there without changing the aesthetic of the game. Honestly, I like that Project Variety is more out there with its changes, but that's not taken away from either of these mods. Both are great. Now, I did have certain bugs and glitches that occurred, and you know I couldn't get certain things to show up, but these weren't deal breakers for me. Overall, Diversification Project is a lot of fun to play, and I can't wait for more things to be added. It also works with a ton of mods, so you can sweeten your experience a lot. I also have Cerberus retrofits on, which is why the Cerberus soldiers look so different, and it just adds another wrinkle to an already awesome experience. The link for this mod will be down in the comments if you're interested. I want to thank you guys for watching. Feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.
DJ SonicFreak.